Welcome to the Hard Pyre. This is episode 29, The Departure.
If there are so many people after us, shouldn't we just leave the city?
Logan came to sit beside Serena, leaning back on the bed with one hand, the other draped carefully around his stomach. A sweat bead ran down his temple as a flinch contorted his face. Rena stared at him with curiosity, her eyebrows drawn together in concern.
We'll find a hideout ourselves. How difficult can it be to locate some weirdos sheltering in old ruins? There aren't a million of these abandoned monasteries in Baidan's hills, especially not with those weird symbols we found in Ocean's Throw. Let's just go to the one near Tarkot's Bridge. What are the chances they found another one nearby? The quicker we get out of here, the quicker we'll find them.
Kalani stared at the floor, her face clouded in deep contemplation before she shook her head. No, we'd waste too much time. You don't realize how vast these hills are and how many abandoned ruins there are.
Come on, didn't Roderick say that weird triangle thing was unique and special?
Yes, precisely. While the two intertwined triangles with the horizontal line are seen quite frequently in these regions to represent Tavumoda, the version that we saw on the gravestones in Miller's Knee, and that was also present in Ocean's Throw, had an additional dot in its center that is quite rare.
What he said. And I'm pretty sure I saw that on the ruins near Tarkot's Bridge before.
That doesn't mean that they're hiding there. And we aren't committing to one location just because you think you maybe remember seeing this one very specific symbol that's only slightly different from its local variants on a wall 5 years ago.
Whatever.
We need to find someone who can guide us. Someone who actually knows where they are, not just a vague idea of ruins. An actual, precise location. And I think Asha's right. The dogs are the best place to do so.
I've got some ideas on who could help us. Might just get expensive.
Logan's breathing was labored. His jaw clenched even though he was clearly trying to hide the pain. Rena's eyes dropped to his hand wrapped around his midriff, the hand that was trembling. She leaned closer. How are you feeling? Logan glanced back at her and shot her a quick smile.
I'm fine, don't worry about me.
You don't look like you're doing fine.
The walking around has just exhausted me. I'll be back to my old self after I've rested a bit.
We should get you some more medicine.
I already got some this morning. It just needs to take effect.
You should stay here and rest.
Yeah, sure, but not too long. We should really leave the city.
We also shouldn't be running around with an injured man. I really didn't want you to get hurt like this. I feel foolish for having dragged you into this mess.
Rena, it's fine. I can barely feel it. It's my own fault I got hurt. I could have just run away during the fight if I'd really wanted to keep myself safe.
Right, Logan?
What? Oh, yeah, I know how to get out of here. Why?
Good. Asha and I are going to the docks. The rest of you stay here. It's safer this way, and people at the docks will be less suspicious of us.
Are you sure you want to split up?
I think Kalani's right. If we stay, we'll be safe. It would be much more complicated to keep us safe out there.
It'll be quicker if it's just Kalani and me. So be a good little boy, stay put, and rest. You look like someone dug you out of a grave a week ago. Fine, I guess we stay here and be bored.
I understand that it is safer for us if we stay indoors, but I do have to let Vincent out for a bit. The poor creature's been trapped in this room for too long.
Oh, yes, of course. Oh, poor Vincent. Rena stood up and walked over to the dog, kneeling beside him to run her fingers through his fur.
I won't be long, but he should get the opportunity to run around a bit. I'm thinking of going back to the library. It should be far enough to get the stiffness out of his legs. And there was something I still wanted to look up.
Something you wanted to look up?
Nothing serious, just a hunch I have that I would like to confirm or deny. I won't be long. I know exactly where I can find it.
If you go, I go.
With a grimace on his face, Logan tried to stand up. Rena rushed back and placed a hand on his chest to stop him.
No, you stay here.
Oh, come on. If he's allowed to go, so am I.
How is this even remotely the same situation? We said you needed to rest and you agreed. How did you already change your mind? You're not leaving this room until you feel better.
I'm not letting Roderick go out on his own unprotected when there's a bunch of people looking for us.
He's not going on his own. I'll join, all right?
Rena, that'll only make me worry more.
We won't be out for long. We know where the library is, and it'll take us less than an hour to get there and back. We'll be careful. No arguing. Finn, can you make sure he doesn't leave the room? Finn looked at her startled, not having expected to be addressed. He'd barely moved since they'd entered the room, deep in whichever memories his sister's appearance had dragged up.
Yes.
Logan glared at Finn, narrowing his eyes in mock anger.
She's right. You need bed rest. You look awful. Way too sugar-coated. Fine, I'll stay. But Finn has to take care of my poor ailing body.
I can tie you to the bed so you don't get up and injure yourself further.
Oh, now we're talking.
Rena rolled her eyes and turned back to a chuckling Roderick. I'll leave you two to it. While we're already out, we can try to find some more medicine for Logan. I think there were some shops on the way to the library that bought trinkets. We could sell some of the things we salvaged from the crash. Hopefully it'll be enough to find something that'll actually help Logan.
Wait. Put on the new clothing I got this morning. You'll be less recognizable if you don't wear your regular clothes.
Oh, did you get something for all of us?
I tried. I just hope it fits.
We really need to buy more clothing at some point. At least enough so that we can regularly wash them. We're starting to smell.
Oh, you don't like the Musk of Adventure? I didn't know you were such a pristine lady.
Not everyone was raised in a tent. Some of us grew up with the luxury of regular bathing.
Prejudices over prejudices.
If you'll excuse me, this lady is going to change into her new garments in the other room.
Rena, I'm serious though. Be careful when you're out there. We don't know where Silac or Inkra or whoever else is looking for us will be.
Yeah, I know. We'll be careful. It had been a long time since Usher's shoulders had felt this tense. She should have been used to feeling danger approach, but ever since that captain had used his sorcery on her, the world hadn't felt right anymore. At night, all her brain could think about was the feeling of suffocation. Any time she breathed out, just before taking another breath, she was plunged back into the terror of that day. The certainty of breathing had been ripped from her, and it terrified her that something like this could ever be possible, that someone like Silac could exist. When she was little, her mother had told her endless stories about the spirits of the sea and the havoc they wreaked on land, but Usher had quickly stopped believing these tales. She simply couldn't believe in beings beyond her perception, not when all the horrible things that had ever happened to her had been at the hands of other humans. Humans who thought they could decide others' fate because of some paper that had been signed long before any of them had been alive. At least those actions she could understand. The cruelty of humanity for greed's sake and the uncaringness of the universe. But this? The total control of a person's body with just one look and a few words. Not even a touch. It didn't fit into anything she understood. I know you don't like your cousin, but it would be the quickest and easiest method to find someone who knows where the crow's hiding. I know, Kalani. I can swallow my pride for one afternoon. Thank you. Kalani shot her a kind smile and then quickened her pace. It was apparent that even she was spooked by the situation they'd found themselves in. Kalani had seen much more than her in life, much more than Usher could even imagine. So noticing the cracks in her confidence only helped hasten Usher's concerns. But Usher knew exactly what was running through Kalani's mind at that moment. The both of them had to project a strong and calculated front for the others, especially Rena. Asha tried her best to comply with the unspoken orders, but every memory of Silac made her steps falter. She'd become an expert in shoving everything she didn't fully understand into a box and cramming it below the floorboards of her mind. But the bastard refused to stay in his box. The rest of the crow was easy to explain. Angry bitter fools turning to religion to pretend that life used to be better for people like them. Asha couldn't believe in that. 100 years ago, 200 years ago, someone like her, someone like Inkra or Michael or any other of these fools, would have gone through the exact same struggles in life. They'd just have been tinged in a different hue. Manyala was delighted to see them return, even if just briefly, and tried to offer them more food, having just found a basket of dried pear slices in the back of a closet. Kalani accepted gladly, and soon got Manyala to tell them exactly where Asha's cousin was. Shabri worked as a carpenter on the restoration of a large vessel. In one of the large open hangars, the ship hung in the air while a flock of workers scraped barnacles off its hull. Without entering the building, Asha waved for her cousin to meet them outside, away from any curious ears.
Asha? Manyala told me you were in town. Didn't expect to see you, though. Kalani? Haven't seen you in a while either.
It's been too long. How have you been? How's your wife?
Oh man, sore subject. She left me 2 years ago.
I'm sorry, I didn't know. Someone must have forgotten to inform me. Didn't seem relevant to our daily lives.
Don't worry about it. I've been enjoying life. There are too many beautiful women around to be sad, you know? Especially in a place like this.
Truly. Well, we don't want to keep you away from your work for too long. We're here for something specific.
Oh yeah?
We're looking for something. Well, someone. A group of someones.
Okay.
Something was stolen from Cass, and it's quite important that we get it back.
Oh shit, yeah, no, definitely. Wouldn't want the big boss to be angry at me. And you think they're hiding in the city?
Not directly, but probably not far outside.
Alright. And how can I help?
You can help us find someone who'll know where they are. Someone you trust.
Sure.
Someone who knows exactly what's going on in this city. Which people enter, which people leave. Someone who notices anything a bit strange.
Yeah. I know a few. I just don't know who's the most trustworthy.
We'll also accept whoever can get us the information fastest.
Yeah, okay. Let me think. What kind of people are you looking for?
Asha glanced over at Kalani, unsure if they should tell Shabri the truth. They're a bit of a strange group. Always traveling in packs, all wearing similar clothes. Black, knee-length trousers, red tights underneath, a cape of brown fur. Hiding out somewhere in the hills. The truth it was then. Asha disagreed with the decision, but Kalani knew best. There wasn't a reason for them to hide the truth anyway. The crow already knew they were hot on their heels. Shabri wouldn't be able to rat them out for a profit, even if he tried.
Oh, yeah. I think I've seen them around. Not sure who'd know where they're staying, though. They're not that often in Chevim either. There's Konrad. I don't know how trustworthy I'd call him, but he blackmails a lot of people, so he knows a lot.
Oh, for fuck's sake, not Konrad. There's no one else you can think of.
Not that I know of, no. I could find you someone else if you can wait until tomorrow, or the day after.
Not really. He'll have to do. He's an arrogant bastard who thinks he's hot shit and has never worked an honest day in his life.
Yeah, sure, but he also knows a lot.
He'll ask for the most outrageous thing as payment. Do we have any other options?
Not if you want the information fast. Agnesa is out at sea at the moment. I'd take you to her. She probably knows just as much.
We'll have to risk it with Konrad. 15 minutes later, Asha's cousin had taken them to one of the worst-smelling taverns Asha had ever had the privilege of stepping into. The informant was a man almost a decade older than Asher, with pale skin that had turned a sicklish yellow and bushy black eyebrows that hung over bloodshot eyes. He wore his black hair in a long, greasy ponytail, although it would have been better for him if he'd shaved it off 5 years ago.
Do my eyes deceive me? A spirit of the sea has appeared in front of me. The most beautiful woman of all of the isles has deemed me worthy of her presence.
Shut up, Conrad.
Conrad, it has been a while.
7 years since your wench banished me.
We told you. You were allowed back after a year. You just had to learn to play by the rules.
I make my own rules here. Why would I come back to your rotten village?
Well, the offer stands if you ever change your mind. But that's not why we're here.
They're looking for someone. Oh yeah? Are you now? And that's why you come crawling back to your old buddy Conrad.
We wouldn't if we didn't have to.
You know everything that's going around here. Who else would we ask, right? You flatter me. But it's true. No one knows more than Conrad.
Someone stole something from Cass.
And why should I help your filthy wench?
Name your price. Conrad narrowed his eyes for a bit, then a terrible smile split his face, showing his rotten teeth. His bloodshot eyes settled on Asha, before slowly wandering up and down.
I've got something in mind.
I don't want to hear it.
Promise me Asha's hand in marriage.
Absolutely not.
I don't think you can just give that away as payment, Conrad.
We do not trade in forced marriages.
Pardon me. I just have to keep trying. Wouldn't want anyone else to snatch away the fiercest woman of all of the Isles.
I will cut off your balls and shove them so far down your throat you'll be able to use them as a second pair of lungs.
I love it when she insults me.
Name another price.
Find me another wife just as passionate as her. Come on, Conrad. They can't do that. That wouldn't be very fair to the women, you know.
You disgust me.
I'm just joking.
Asha, stay. Conrad, let's be reasonable here. Shabri told me you deal in information nowadays. I'm sure something can be arranged in that department. Have you heard the news about Rosianna yet?
Do tell.
Kalani leaned forward and told Conrad all she knew about Rosianna, the head of one of the other moving villages who operated in the north of Beidan. Conrad's grin grew wider with every drop of information Kalani fed him. She then told him about the crow, just enough to identify them, and explained in the vaguest of terms why they were after them. As predicted, he knew exactly where they were staying, or at least claimed to. He had, of course, tried to blackmail them in the past, before realizing they owned nothing of value and didn't much care about their reputation in the city. Conrad explained that they were staying in an old abandoned monastery between Paimechi and Taire, half a day by foot and only a few hours by cart. He'd never been there himself, but apparently had informants in Taire who told him about a strange group staying in the hills. Asha and Kalani didn't stay much longer after that, refusing Conrad's offer for a drink and leaving Asha's cousin in the tavern with him instead.
Rosianna won't be happy to hear you've ratted her out like this.
Rosianna can deal with a nuisance like Conrad. He's all bark, no bite. And Rosianna isn't exactly my friend anyway. I don't need to protect her. She's done much worse in her life.
True, but who knows who will need as allies in the coming months.
Since when do you care about Rosianna?
I don't. I'm just worried about making more enemies than we already have.
You're right. But this won't bite us in the ass right away. We'll have at least a few weeks before Conrad tries to do anything with this information and Rosianna finds out who gave it to him. That will give us enough time to figure out how to deal with the crow before it hits us. If it ever does hit us. Conrad is so vile. Why are humans this obsessed with pairing up with each other? Most people enjoy familiar company. In a normal way. Not whatever Conrad considers appropriate. That's what friends are for. I don't need to spend half my life chasing someone to get the council to ratify our union for eternity. You're not the best at making friends either, my love. I've got you and Cass, that's enough. And I'm bound to my uncle no matter what I do. Your employer and their wife. What a great track record. Cass is more than my employer. I know, dear. They're also a massive pain in my ass. You only drag problems into your life when you shake up with people. Look at how much of a mess Logan's life is. Oh, my cousins. Nothing's good ever come from their escapades. And in the end, you bring more poor souls into this fucked up world. Just a cycle of creating misery. Asher, it wouldn't do you any harm to see the world with a smidge more positivity. If only I could. Everything's falling apart again. And now we have to deal with people who can control bodies with a glance, and others who burn down villages because of some forsaken belief in old stories. How am I supposed to stay positive with that? These are strange times. But nothing we can't overcome. Once we've safely got Rena's sister back, we can figure out what to do with the crow from further away. It doesn't have to be our problem alone. Cass is already working on it, and I'm sure by now they've got a whole slew of people working on the problem. We're not the only ones affected by it. This development threatens everyone living in this region. What if they've got more of these mystical fuckers hidden away in that monastery? I doubt it, but you don't know. We'll figure it out once we get there. We won't have the time to observe them from afar for long. I'm more scared about what they might do to Rena's sister, and why they took her in the first place. To make more of these body-controlling freaks. I hope not, but probably. Or something similar. Those motherfuckers. Rena stood outside the library, her arms wrapped tightly around her chest. The red dress Logan had gotten for her looked like one of the special occasion dresses her mother used to buy her for birthdays or festivities, with its little round beads carefully stitched onto the hem, even if it clearly showed its age. She'd found a spot not too far from the library's entrance that was cast in shadows and would hopefully keep her hidden from any prying eyes. Her gaze started nervously around as the sun's trajectory changed the shadow she was hiding in and threatened to completely take it away from her. Roderick had said he wouldn't be long. He simply had to look something up. He'd be right out in just a second. But that hadn't been the case. At least Vincent didn't seem to mind the delay. He lay in the sun an arm's length away from her, enjoying the heat of the day. She cast her gaze to her feet, observing as the sun crept ever closer. She didn't want to look out at the crowd anymore. Her stomach cramped any time she spotted someone who looked even remotely like Silac or Deacon or Incra. She even thought she'd spotted Michael a few times, but it had never actually been him. She got tired of this constant whiplash of feelings. There wasn't much she could do if they spotted her anyway, so she let her hair fall in front of her face, obscuring her from the rest of the world, and counted the seconds until Roderick finally returned. What took you so long?
I told you, there was something I needed to look up.
But you were inside for so long.
I know, I apologize. It took me longer to find what I needed than I'd anticipated. I'm truly sorry, Rena. Will you forgive me?
We shouldn't stay here. Anyone could see us from far away. Let's hurry back to the others.
All right. Did Vincent behave?
Yeah, he mostly just slept in the sun. I didn't really dare step out of the shadows, though. Too many people around. What even were you looking for in the library?
Just something I'd read about the potential ritual in my previous research. It didn't want to leave my mind. Did you know that the old faith believed in reincarnation?
Yes, well, a lot of people still do. I think it depends on where you grew up.
But how many people actually believe it? I think these people consider it a cornerstone of our universe. That a person never truly dies and we're all stuck in a chain of being reborn. That there is something in us that never disappears and wanders through existence from host to host.
And in your view, there's what after death?
Nothing. Why would there be anything after death?
I don't know. I guess there could just be nothing. My father always said we come from the earth and we go back to it, and then the cycle starts anew. But who knows what you come back as? Or if it's actually even you. Maybe you just turn into a fire mackerel. Or a Mican flower. Wouldn't even have a care in the world then.
Well, what we believe doesn't much matter right now. The case is that the Crow do, in all likelihood, strongly believe in reincarnation, whether for humans or their gods. So of course they would try to forcibly reincarnate the god they believe in most into a body near them.
Does that work?
Well, they surely believe in it.
But wouldn't Tavumoda already have been reincarnated in the last 100 years? Do gods even die? I'm sure the rules must be different for gods and humans.
The rules that they invented. Let's not forget that this isn't actually based on any actual truth. They can twist their beliefs into anything that fits them best.
Alright, fine. Then what does the ritual say?
It seeks to pull this energy or spirit that is supposedly in us out of the universe and place it in a new vessel. I'm unsure how they want to find the correct spirit they're aiming for, though.
And the vessel?
Well, I don't think they care much about the vessel, as long as it is strong and healthy. And I think it has to be empty.
Empty.
Of another spirit.
How's that possible?
I'm not sure. They'd probably have to empty it somehow.
Is that what they want to do to Maya?
We don't know for certain that they chose your sister as the new vessel.
What else would she be? Tavumoda's current form? Wouldn't we have noticed if Maya was the reincarnation of a god?
I'm sure you would have.
Then why else did they take her?
Rena.
I know. We won't know until we found them.
I wish there were clearer answers for us to find.
I really hope Kalani and Asha find out where they're hiding.
What took you so long? I was about to go look for you.
Long rushed towards Rena, who took a step back in alarm and hit the door with her back.
You said you'd be gone for less than an hour. It's been like 10.
It's been an hour and a half. With panicked eyes, Logan looked over at Roderick. Finn came to stand next to him with a much calmer demeanor, keeping his distance from Vincent, who strolled leisurely past and curled up on the floor in the middle of the room.
I don't think I would have been able to keep him from leaving for much longer. He's read that you were gone for longer than you said.
I know. It's my fault. I apologize. I got carried away at the library, but it was for a good reason.
Which is?
Finding out in more detail what the Crow is planning. Potentially.
You were gone for this long for potentially.
There are no complete certainties in science and research.
Roderick placed a hand on Logan's shoulder and guided him back to his bed. Rena stepped away from the door again, relieved that Kalani and Asha hadn't returned yet. She'd been scared they'd be reprimanded if they arrived back later than the two women. She knew what they'd done hadn't been smart. She should have tried to convince Roderick not to go back to the library, but the thought hadn't crossed her mind when they'd left. She'd been too preoccupied with trying to get Logan to stay inside. As Roderick explained what they'd found at the library, Rena sat down on the floor, her back against the bed, and guided Vincent's head onto her lap. She wordlessly handed Logan the small tin of salve they'd gotten before reaching the library, which he took without looking. He spun it between his hands, too busy being confused by Roderick's story. Finn brought over the half-filled pitcher of water, before rummaging through their bags for something resembling clean bandages. 10 minutes later, Roderick had answered all of Logan's questions somewhat adequately, and Logan's wound had been washed and rebandaged as best as they could before the door swung open once more.
Oh look, Kalani, they're still alive.
How did it go?
We know where they are. We hope we know where they are and didn't get lied to.
Yes, Asha, we hope we didn't get lied to. But Conrad knows what'll happen to him if he lies to us.
Conrad? Ugh. See, even Logan dislikes him. What does he know about the Crow?
He trades in blackmail nowadays, apparently.
Of course he does. He's too stupid for anything else.
They're hiding in the hills between Taire and Paimeri. So not near Target's Bridge, Logan.
Close enough.
There's a full day's walk between both locations, Logan. Anyway, Taire is the biggest of the two towns, but it's also furthest away. From what I recall, Paimeri can barely be called a town at all. Not sure if it's grown in the last decade or so, but I remember it being barely more than a tavern and 2 farms. But it's closer to Revim. Either way, it's best if we get to either one of them by wagon, and then explore the region from there. I've made preparations. We could leave right now if everyone's ready.
Never felt better.
It barely took them another 10 minutes before they'd vacated their rooms. They combined the clothes Logan had gotten for them with their old ones so as not to raise suspicion by wearing too fancy clothing, and made their way to the nearest city exit. Kalani led them through the smallest streets she could find, even if it made their journey longer than needed. But Rena was grateful that it kept them away from the bigger masses of people. Her eyes darted around frantically, never stopping, fear creeping through her body the closer they got to the exit. They were so close to leaving Revim, but Siler could still be waiting for them at every turn. In the back of her mind, she kept seeing the image of Jasper, broken and hurt, surrounded by the Historical Academy and Deacon. Her memory of Aldara twisted into something grotesque with every step, her smile turning vicious, her hands transforming into claws around Jasper's arm, her uniform suddenly blood red. What were they going to do to him if Rena didn't help him? Were they going to turn him against her? Were they going to make him disappear? But what could she do against it anyway? She couldn't stop now to focus on helping Jasper without completely derailing what they'd been working towards for the past week. She couldn't abandon Maya. She felt like throwing up, her stomach twisting and turning at the thought that she could not save both of them. They emerged onto an open court just in front of a smaller side entrance to the city, mostly used by merchants from what it seemed. To the left and right, people led horse-drawn carriages past them or unloaded their goods. The light behind the gates grew brighter, and it was as if a hand was gripping her chest and pulling her back. Jasper needed her. They were the only two who'd survived the fire, and she was about to abandon him again. She didn't actually know if Maya was alive. Not truly. Roderick kept reminding her of it. But she'd seen Jasper. She'd touched him. He was real, and he was hurt, and he needed someone to tell him the truth. But at least Aldara had said she'd take care of him, that she'd find him a doctor who could heal him. If Maya was still alive, she had no one looking after her. The Crow could be doing any number of horrendous things to her in the name of their monstrous ritual, and no one besides Rena and her companions even knew about it. She shook her head and quickened her pace, leaving Roderick and Vincent and striding up to Kalani at the front of the group. The quicker they found the Crow, the quicker they could save Maya, the quicker they could get back to Revim and also save Jasper. Kalani marched towards the stables on their right, where several people were hitching horses to carts and wagons. Rena tried to assess which one of them was going to take them closer to the crow, but when her eyes landed on a lanky figure leaning against one of the stable's poles and smirking at them, she froze.
Well, who do we have here? For fuck's sake. Not now, Deacon.
Thought you could just slip out without anyone noticing, did you? But no one slips past me that easily.
Deacon, we don't have time for this.
No, of course not. There's never time for my concerns, but he gets away with everything in your books.
Whatever your problem with Logan is, take it up with Cass. Kalani walked past Deacon, aiming towards a young girl hitching a black horse to a small wooden cart, but Logan stopped beside Rena. Deacon's beady eyes narrowed at Logan before he pushed himself off the beam.
Oh, I already did, but our dear sovereign outcasts plays favorites, like always. Total neutrality, my ass. And I know exactly why you treat him so differently from the rest of us. I know your dirty little secret.
Whatever the fuck you think you know, I can guarantee that it's not true.
Oh, really? I know you weren't born here in the South, or Hellas Dip, or wherever else you pretend to be from.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider my birthplace a big dark secret.
I know that your name isn't actually Logan.
Yeah, no shit. Most people can figure that out.
Rena glanced over at Logan. She hadn't imagined this conversation to go the way it was. She still didn't understand what Deacon wanted from Logan, but he seemed reluctant to talk about it directly. It's not?
It's the one I've been using for years, so it basically is. Just not the one I was born with.
I know who your father is.
What do you want, Deacon? You didn't come all this way to discuss my lineage with me.
Maybe I did, considering all the other stuff I know.
Deacon.
Kalani had stopped near the young girl and had started helping her ready the cart. Asha stood beside her, her eyes fixed on Deacon, the two burlap sacks with their belongings lying at her feet.
You think I can't put two and two together? About the stupid documents you made me steal for you? About how I got thrown into jail because of these totally unimportant, nobody's even gonna notice them gone documents?
Listen, I'm sorry for that. I miscalculated, okay?
Miscalculated, my ass. Why didn't you do the job yourself,
I had other stuff to do.
Oh, of course. You just didn't want Daddy to know you stole his stuff.
You didn't steal the documents from my father.
No, I know, but they still belong to him. Or at least the stuff they talk about. All the ore being mined for the train, all the shit they're pulling with its construction, all the rumors about how they treat their workers. Daddy wouldn't like it if it all came to light, would he? Are you blackmailing him or helping him bury his shame?
Logan's jaw was set tight, his eyes ablaze with fury as his hands clasped tightly into fists. The more Deacon said, the less Rena understood. She knew Logan had been researching the train line's construction before, but she'd never asked him what exactly had interested him in it. The woman they tied up in the crow's hideout in Halvand had talked about the train, but she hadn't mentioned anything about bad working conditions, just that she wanted everyone to be able to use it equally. Rena couldn't tell if Deacon was speaking the truth, if Logan's father actually had something to do with this project, or if he was simply trying to annoy Logan. The train?
What do you want, Deacon?
What I'm owed. You paid me a horse's crap for that job, and now I have to fear for my life. I want more.
I don't have more.
Bullshit. Considering your lineage, you have a fuck ton more.
The lineage you made up.
Guys, stop it. Deacon, I'll pay you your fair wages when we get back to Rancor. Money isn't worth the time you're making us waste with your petty bickering.
Why are you protecting him?
I am not. I just do not have the time for this idiotic argument right now.
Do you know who he is?
I know more than you can ever dream of. I also know who you are, Deacon Halvega. Deacon's face was contorted in hatred as he stared at Kalani, red splotches forming on his skin. Now go back to Cass and wait for us to return.
I'm not your dog.
Oh my stars, Deacon. Put your pride aside for one day. You will get your money.
If I don't, Logan, I can't promise that your little friend will stay safe for much longer.
What? Which friend? What the fuck are you talking about?
She knows.
Without looking at her, Deacon nodded in Rena's direction. What? Jasper? Why would he not be safe?
Oh, come on, Deacon. That's a low blow. The man was trapped in a fire a week ago. He doesn't even know me. Why would you pull him into this?
Then you better get me my money.
Money you don't deserve.
Logan.
But he doesn't. He's threatening me with something he just pulled out of his ass.
You just don't want to admit it.
Asha suddenly stepped forward, her sword glinting golden in the sunlight as it was held against Deacon's throat.
Kalani told you to go back to Cass.
Always do as your masters tell you, right?
Just shut up, you insufferable waste of skin.
Deacon slowly backed off, his gaze first on the sword, then on Rena.
Your friend is a really interesting man, you know. Went through so much these last few days. Thankfully, the Historical Academy was there to help him back on his feet. What a tragedy that fire was. Just so unlucky that hay bale went up in flames. So unpredictable. But that's life, I guess. You never know what might happen next.
He walked backwards for a while, then stood still, staring at her until Rena felt the need to stop breathing. Like a prey in front of its predator, hoping desperately it wouldn't notice it move. But eventually, he turned and walked away. Asha let her sword drop, sliding it back into its scabbard and dropping it in one of the burlap sacks.
What the fuck?
She turned to Logan and glared at him.
You make life so complicated for anyone around you.
Do you think he's gonna hurt Jasper?
Let's hope not. But we can't think of that now. We should be leaving.
But we can't just let him go back to Jasper. He's going to hurt him. We have to do something, right?
We can't be everywhere at once.
But
Deacon likes to threaten people, but rarely follows through. I doubt he actually intends to hurt Jasper, especially when the Historical Academy is looking after him. He doesn't want to be on their bad side, not all on his own.
Rena looked around at the rest of her companions, hoping any of them would support her, but Kalani and Asha were already on their way back to the cart, and Logan avoided her gaze at all costs. Roderick looked just as lost as her, unease written plainly on his face, while Finn's eyes were fixed on Logan as if he'd already half figured out the mystery Deacon had laid at their feet. Three paths lay in front of us on which the story could continue. On the first path, the companions take the cart to the bigger town that is further away and try to talk to Conrad's informants. On the second path, they take the cart to the bigger town that is further away and fight their way to the Crow on their own. On the third path, they take the cart to the smaller town that is closer and find their way to the Crow on their own. You can cast your vote by going to the show's Twitter page, the TUMBLR page, or on thehardpire.com. You have until December 29th to cast your vote. As always, if you like this podcast, consider leaving a review or supporting it on Ko-fi or Patreon. You can also get the novelization of the first season as an ebook and paperback from most major retailers. You can find transcripts for each episode, character art, and a map of the kingdom on thehardpire.com. The intro music is Lonely Dusty Trail by John Prestone. The Hardpire is written and produced by me, Audrey Marta. Thank you for listening.